My son was kidnapped this morning. I know exactly what took him, but if I call 911, the police will blame me. I can't go through that again. I'm terrified people will believe I killed Nico. You see, if I call the police, they won't search for him. They won't care about bringing my boy home. No, they'll look for Occam's razor. A simple answer to satisfy a self-righteous bloodlust. They won't have to look too hard to find that simple answer, either. After all, I'll be the one who reports him missing. A single father with a history of alcohol abuse, whose wife vanished 5 years prior. Can't think of a more perfect scapegoat. But, God, please believe me, I would never hurt him. None of this is my fault. This is all because of the thing you found under the sand. The voice in the shell. Tusk. Its name is Tusk. It's okay, though. It's all going to be okay. I found a journal in Nico's room, hidden under some loose floorboards. I haven't read through it yet, but I'm confident it will exonerate me and lead me to where they took him, of course. For posterity, I'm transcribing and uploading the journal to the internet before I call in Nico's disappearance. I don't want them taking the journal and twisting my son's words to mean something they don't, just so they can finally put me behind bars. This post will serve as a safeguard against potential manipulation. That said, I'll probably footnote the entries with some of my perspective as well. For clarity. I'm confident you'll agree that my input is necessary. If I learned anything during a protracted investigation into Sophia's disappearance 5 years ago, it's that no single person can ever tell a full story. Recollection demands context. Marcus. May 16, 2025. Dad agreed to a trip. It took some convincing, but Dad and I are going to the beach this weekend. I think it's been hard for him to go since Mom left. The beach was her favorite place. He tries to hide his disgust. Every time I bring her up, Dad will turn his head away from me, like he can't control the nasty expression his face makes when he thinks about her, but he doesn't want to show me either one. I'm 13 years old. I can handle honesty, and I want the truth, whatever it is. Last night, he was uncharacteristically sunny, humming out a tune as he prepared dinner, grilled cheese with sweet potato fries. Mine was burnt, but I didn't want to rock the boat, so I didn't complain. He still thinks that's my favorite meal, even though it hasn't been for years. I didn't correct him about that. I thought he might have been drunk, too, but I didn't find any empty bottles in his usual hiding places when I checked before bed. Nothing under the attic floorboards, nothing in the back of the shed. Dad surprised me, though. When I asked if we could take a trip to the beach tomorrow, he said yes. I struggled a lot in the weeks and months that followed Sophia's disappearance, and I'm ashamed to admit that I wore my hatred for the woman on my sleeve, even in front of Nico. She abandoned us, but I've long since forgiven her. Now, when I think of her, all I feel is a deep, lonely heartache, and I do attempt to hide that heartache from my son. He's been through enough. I've been sober for 3 years. May 17, 2025. Our day at the beach. It wasn't the best trip. Not at the start, at least. Dad was really cranky on the ride up. Called the other drivers on the road bastards under his breath, and only gave me one-word answers when I tried to make conversation. After a few pit stops, though, he began to cheer up, asked me how I was doing in school, started singing to the radio. He even laughed when I called the truck driver a bastard because he was driving slow and holding us up. I got too wrapped up in the moment and made a mistake. I asked why Mom liked the beach so much. He stopped talking, stopped singing, said he needed to focus on the road. Things got better on the beach, but I lost track of Dad. We were building a sandcastle, but then he told me he needed to go to the bathroom 3. About half an hour later, I was done with the castle. Unsure what else to do, I started digging a moat. That's when I found the hand. My shovel hit something squishy. I thought it was gray seaweed, but then I noticed a gold ring and a knuckle. It was a finger, wet and soft, but not actually dead. When it wiggled, I wasn't scared, not at all. It wasn't until I began writing this that I realized how weirdly calm I was. Eventually, I dug the whole hand out. It was balled into a fist. I looked around, but everyone who had been on the beach before was gone. All the people and their umbrellas and their towels disappeared. I wasn't sure when they all left. Well, actually, there was one person. They were watching us from the ocean I could see their blue eyes and their black hair peeking out above the waves. I looked back at the hole in the hand, and I tapped it with the tip of my shovel. It creaked open, strange and delicate, like a Venus flytrap. There was a black, glassy shell about the size of a baseball in its palm, covered in spirals and other markings I didn't recognize. I picked it up and brought it close to my face. It smelled metallic, but also like sea salt 5. I put the mouth of the shell up to my ear to see if I could hear the ocean, but I couldn't. Instead, I could hear someone whispering. I couldn't understand what they were saying, but that didn't seem to matter. I loved listening anyway. When Dad got back, his cheeks were red and puffy. He was fuming. I asked him to look into the hole. He wouldn't. He refused. Dad said he just couldn't do it, 6. I don't recall much about the rest of the day, but the shell was still in my pocket when we got home, 7, and that made me happy. It's resting on my nightstand right now, and I can finally hear what the whispers are saying. It's a person or something like a person. Maybe an angel? Their name is Tusk. Tusk says they're going to help me become free. 3-4 so early in the season, the beach was exceptionally busy. The line for the nearest bathroom stall was easily 30 people long, and that's a conservative estimate. For there shouldn't have been anyone in the ocean that day. The water was closed because of a strong riptide. 5, that's what Nico's room smelled like this morning. Brine and steel. 6, when I got back to Nico, there wasn't a hole or a hand or even a sandcastle. He didn't ask me anything, either. My son was catatonic, staring into the ocean, making this low-pitched whooshing sound but otherwise unresponsive. He came to when we reached the ER. 7, he did bring home the shell. It wasn't a hallucination like the person in the ocean or the hand. That said, it wasn't in his pockets when he was examined in the ER. I helped him switch into a hospital gown. There wasn't a damn thing in his swim trunks other than sand. May 18th, 2025, Tusk, and I stayed home from school with Ms. Winchester. Dad says we haven't been feeling well and that we need to rest. 8. That's why he's forcing us to stay home today. I'm not sure what he's talking about, Tusk, and I feel great. But I don't mind missing my algebra test, either. I just wish he didn't ask Ms. Winchester to come over. 9. I'm 13 now, and I have Tusk. We don't need a babysitter, and especially not one that's a worthless sack of arthritic bones like her. 10. In the end, though, everything worked out okay. Tusk was really excited to go on an expedition today, and they were worried that Ms. Winchester would try to stop us. She did at first, which aggravated Tusk. I felt the spirals and markings burning against my leg from inside my pocket. But once I explained why we needed to go into the forest, had her hold Tusk while I detailed how important the expedition was, Ms. Winchester understood. 11. She even helped us find my dad's shovel from the garage. She wished us luck with finding Tusk's crown. We really appreciated that. 8. Nico had been acting strange since that day at the beach. His pediatrician was concerned that he may have been experiencing subclinical seizures and recommended keeping him home from school while we sorted things out. 9. Ms. Winchester has been our neighbor for over a decade. During that time, Nico has become a surrogate child to the elderly widow. When Sophia would covertly discontinue her meds, prompting an episode that would see her disappear for days at a time. Ms. Winchester would take care of Nico while I searched for my wife. Sophia was never a huge fan of the woman, a fact I never completely understood. If Ms. Winchester ever critiqued my wife, it was only in an attempt to make her more motherly. She's been such a huge help these last few years. Tim, my son, adored Ms. Winchester, and I've never heard him use the word arthritic before in my life. 11 when I returned from work around 7 p.m., there was no one home. As I was about to call the police, Nico stomped into the back door, clothes caked in a thick layer of dirt and dragging a shovel behind him. I won't lie, my panic may have resembled anger. I questioned Nico about where he'd been and where the hell Ms. Winchester was. He basically recited what's written here. Nico had been out in the forest behind our home, digging for Tusk's crown. That's the first time he mentioned Tusk to me. Still didn't explain where Ms. Winchester had gotten off to. Our neighbor's house was locked on the inside, but her car was in the driveway. When she didn't come to the door, no matter how forcefully I knocked, I called 911 and asked someone to come by and perform a wellness check. Hours later, paramedics discovered her body. She was sprawled out face down in her bathtub, clothes on, with the faucet running. The water was scalding hot, practically boiling. The tub was a goddamn cauldron. Did a real number on her corpse. Thankfully, her death had nothing to do with the hellish bath itself. She suffered a fatal heart attack and was dead within seconds, subsequently falling into the tub. Apparently, Ms. Winchester had been dead since the early morning, 9 a.m. or so, but I had called her cell phone on my way home to check on Nico. 6:30 p.m., give or take. She answered, told me everything was all right. Nico was acting normal, back to his old self. Even better than his old self. She added, May 21st, 2025, I miss my mom. I've always wished I understood why she moved out to California without saying goodbye. 12. Now, though, I'm starting to get it. Dad is a real bastard. He's so angry all the time. At the world, at Mom, at me, at Tusk, even. All Tusk's ever done is be honest with me and talk to me when I'm down, which is more than I can say for Dad. I'm glad he got hurt trying to take Tusk away from me. Serve him right. I had a really bad nightmare last night. I was trapped under the attic floorboards, banging my hands against the wood, trying to get Dad's attention. He was standing right above me. I could see him through the slits. He should have been able to hear me. The worst part? I think he could hear me, but was choosing not to look, just like at the beach with the hole and the hand. He refused to look down. I woke up screaming. Dad didn't come to comfort me, but Tusk was there, 13. They were different, too. Before that night, Tusk was just a voice, a whisper from the oldest spiral. But they'd grown. The shell was still on my nightstand, where I liked to keep it, but a mist was coming out. It curled over me. Most of it wasn't a person, but the part of the mist closest to my head formed a hand with a ring on it. The hand was running its fingers gently through my hair, and I felt safe, maybe for the first time. Then, out of nowhere, Dad burst into the room, 14, yelling about how he needed to sleep for work and that we were being too loud, how he was tired of hearing about Tusk. He stomped over to my nightstand, booming like a thunderstorm, and tried to grab Tusk's shell off my nightstand. Dad screamed and dropped Tusk perfectly back into position. His palm was burnt and bloody. I could smell it. I laughed. I laughed and I laughed and I laughed, and I told Tusk that I was ready to be free. When I was done laughing, I wished my dad a good night, turned over, but I did not fall asleep. 15. I waited. Early in the morning, right at the crack of dawn, we found Tusk's crown by digging at the base of a maple tree only half a mile from the backyard. Turns out, Tusk knew where it had been the whole time. They just needed to make sure I was ready. 12 Sophia would frequently daydream about moving out to the West Coast. Talked about it nonstop. So that's what I told an 8-year-old Nico when she left. Your mother went to California. It felt safer to have him believe his mother had left to chase a dream, rather than burden my son with visions of a grimmer truth that I've grappled with day in and day out for the last 5 years. I wanted to exemplify Sophia as a woman seduced by her own wild, untamed passion, rather than a person destroyed by a dark, unchecked addiction. Eventually, once the investigation was over, everyone was in agreement. Sophia had left for California. 13, if he did scream, I didn't hear it. 14, I was on my way back from the kitchen when I passed by Nico's room. He shouted for me to come in. I assumed he was out cold, so the sound nearly startled me into an early grave. I paced in, wondering what could possibly be worth screaming about at 3 in the morning, and he asked me the same question he'd been asking me every day, multiple times a day since the beach. Where's Tusk's crown? Where's Tusk's crown, Dad? Where'd you hide it, Dad? From that point on, I can't confidently say what I witnessed. To me, it didn't look like a mist, more like a smoke, dense and black, like what comes off of burning rubber. I didn't see a hand petting my son, either. I saw an open mouth with glinting teeth above his head. I rushed over to his nightstand, reaching my hand out to pick up the shell, so I could crush it in my palm. The room was spinning. I stumbled a few times, light-headed from the fumes, I guess. The shell burned the imprint of a spiral into my palm when I picked it up. 15, I couldn't deal with the sound of my son laughing, so I slept downstairs for the rest of the night. When I woke up, he was gone, and his room smelled like brine and steel. May 21st, 2025, a message for you, Marcus. By the time you're reading this, we'll be gone. And in case you haven't figured it out yet, this journal was created for you and you alone. When you first found it, though, did you wonder how long Nico had been journaling for? Did you ever search through your memories, trying to recall a time when he expressed interest in a hobby? I mean, if it was a hobby of his, why did he never talk about it? Or, God forbid, maybe your son had been talking about it plenty and often, but you couldn't remember those instances because you weren't actually listening to the words coming out his mouth? Or maybe he's never written in a journal before, not once in his whole miserable life. So hard to say for certain, isn't it? The ambiguity must really sting, or burn, or feel a bit suffocating, almost like you're drowning. Hey, don't fret too much. Chin up, sport. Worse comes to worse. There's a foolproof way to deal with all those nagging questions without answering them, thereby circumventing their pain and their fallout. You're familiar with the tactic, aren't you? Sure you are. You're the expert, the maestro, the godforsaken alpha and omega when it comes to this type of thing. Bury them. Take a shovel out to a fresh plot of land in the dead of night and just bury them all. All of your doubt, your vacillation, your fury. Bury them with the questions you refuse to answer. Out of sight, out of mind. Isn't that right? And if you encounter a particularly ornery question, one that's really fighting to stay above water, wink wink. That's okay too. Those types of questions just require a few extra steps. They need to be weakened first. Tenderized, exhausted, broken, burned, drowned, buried. I hope you're picking up on an all too familiar pattern. In any case, Nico and I are gone. Don't fret about that either, big man. I'll be thoughtful. I'll let you know where we're going. California. We're definitely going to California. Oh, last thing. You have to be curious about the name Tusk. It's a bad joke. Or maybe a riddle is a better way to describe it. Don't hurt yourself trying to put it together. And don't worry about burying it, either. I'll help you. So, our son kept asking for Tusk's crown. Now ask yourself, what wears a crown? Kings? Queens? Beauty pageant winners? Teeth? Like a dental crown? Something only a set of previously used molars may have? Something that could be used to identify a long decomposed body? A dental record, perhaps? I can practically feel your dread. I can very nearly taste your panic. What a rapturous thing. Why am I still transcribing this? You must be screaming in your head, eyes glazed over, fingers typing mindlessly. Why have I lost control? Well, if you thought Tusk's crown was bad, buckle up. Here's a really bad joke. You've never had control, you coward. You've always been spiraling. You've just been proficient at hiding it. Not anymore. Nico dug up my skull, Marcus. The cops are probably digging up the rest of me as you type this. It's over. Now, stay right where you are until you hear sirens in the distance. From there, I'll let you go. Give you a head start running, because you earned it. I mean, you've been forced to sit through enough of your own bullshit, while simultaneously outing yourself for the whole world to see. I'm satisfied. Hope you learned something, but I wouldn't say I'm optimistic. Wow, isn't real goodbye nice? Sweet, blissful closure. Well, good luck, and Godspeed living on the lam. Lovingly yours, Sophia. I'm sorry.